for those of you, I'm sure you're all familiar with Vince Vetrano. Vince is a longtime member of Special Olympics Wisconsin and just recently been past chair. And as I mentioned to you earlier, he has really taken me under his wing and educated me about Special Olympics. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Vince.
Les, thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for being here and giving us a little of your time this afternoon. Sure wish we could be together in person. I think we all see in our workplaces we're getting closer to that point, and actually this is a level of convenience as well. So glad to have all of you with us, and Les, very kind. Les and I actually met a couple of years ago as I was doing work for another board called the First Tee of Southeast Wisconsin. It's a golf affiliated, as you would imagine, nonprofit, and Les did some consulting for us, and I had an opportunity to learn a great deal from him, and fortunately met Les just as my 2-year term as chairman of our board of directors for Special Olympics was beginning, and Les was a great guide and counsel to me. So Les, thank you for that, and for bringing everyone together. As Les kind of hit on, everyone I've met has heard of Special Olympics. And all of the people who've heard of Special Olympics, in my experience, have had warm and happy feelings about it. And they know they have heard of us and they know they like us, but very few of them know really exactly what it is we do. So I want to kind of give you that overview. Obviously, with Olympics in the name, people assume we are a sports organization. And yes, we do sports. We do a lot of sports. We offer year-round training and competition in 32 separate sports disciplines. Special Olympics is in more than 170 countries. We touch more than 5 million athletes across the world, and globally we do 100,000 events each and every year. Our programs serve children who are as young as 2 years old all the way through senior citizens. There is no ceiling in terms of age for participation in our programs. I think a lot of folks are very surprised to learn that. In Wisconsin, for example, adults make up more than 80% of our Special Olympics Wisconsin athletes and participants. So getting young people involved at an earlier age, that remains a top and very important priority for us. And if all we did was give those folks with intellectual disabilities a chance just to play sports, to play ball or to run track or to swim, if all we did was open our athletic fields and our gyms and our courts and our pools to the larger ID community, that would be a worthwhile and very valuable thing. If all we did was give them the same opportunity to experience joy through the participation of sports, that would be an amazing thing. But that is not nearly all that we do. In the following way, I often tell people, Special Olympics is not really a sports organization at all. We are a global movement that provides people with intellectual disabilities access, equality, inclusion, and opportunity. Those are buzzwords that we've been talking a lot about in the last year and a half. We're way out on the front end of that. Special Olympics recently celebrated its 50th anniversary. So we're in years 51, 52. We've been in this business a long time for people with intellectual disabilities. So equality, opportunity, inclusion, all of those things are at the core of what we do. We are a global movement that gives our athletes the chance to achieve their full potential in life. Now, we don't do it for them. What our athletes achieve, you will learn, and as you saw in the video, they achieve that on their own. But Special Olympics gives them the platform, and sports is really the vehicle that we use in order to achieve that greater end. So we start with sports, and then through our sports, we achieve greater ends and outcomes in health and wellness. Early returns on some research that I'll share with you that we conducted in partnership with the University of Wisconsin, as well as our State Department of Health Services, have confirmed what we in the movement have believed and professed all along, that the men and women and boys and girls who participate in Special Olympics programming are healthier than their counterparts in the intellectual disabilities community who do not partake in our programs. The first reason is pretty obvious. I mean, our athletes are playing sports. They're working out. No different for any of us. When you're up and off the couch and doing things and active, you're going to be a healthier person. But it's also because of our Healthy Athletes program, which is a very specific and targeted movement within Special Olympics. We recognized years ago that despite severe need and higher health risks, people with intellectual disabilities are often denied basic health services. So we found a way to bridge that gap. And through our Healthy Athletes program, we're creating a world where people with intellectual disabilities have every opportunity to be healthy. As you will learn today, for many of our athletes, Special Olympics provides one of the only touch points within the healthcare system that they have on an annual basis. Some don't see the doctor regularly. Some don't see the dentist regularly. So they see us. Because of gaps in coverage and availability in health professionals to serve people with intellectual disabilities, we are oftentimes the first source of healthcare for our athletes. And we don't stop at physical health either. Whenever I'm around our athletes, a sporting event or a fundraiser, when we're together, somebody new comes up to me and says, I don't know what I would do without Special Olympics. I do not know what I would do without Special Olympics. And that resonates so deeply with me because that statement for so many of our athletes is both figuratively and literally true. I mean, first of all, we have many athletes, as you'll learn, who participate in our sports programming year round. So they've got a fall sport, a winter sport, a spring sport, and a summer sport, sometimes two of them. So they don't know what they would be doing actively if they weren't involved in Special Olympics. But obviously, when our athletes tell me that, it means more than just literally. They mean they don't know what their lives would look like without Special Olympics. They don't know who they would be without Special Olympics. For so many of them, Special Olympics is how they identify themselves first. It's at the core of their identity. And what I mean by that is, you ask any of us here in this Zoom call, who are you? You'd say, I'm a mother or a father. I have this many children. I work at this place or that. You ask one of our Special Olympics athletes, who are you? Many of them will tell you first, I am a Special Olympics athlete. And then all the other stuff in the biography comes after that. So for many of them, that's the core of their identity. And sadly, we found out in this pandemic year what life is like for our athletes without Special Olympics. And it's very sad. I had an athlete call me, look up my phone number as chairman of the board of directors and call me and cry on the phone because she was unable to be with her fellow athletes. And it had created such a void in her life. And it was so hard for me to hear that and to know that, but also important because it backs up everything that I had long believed about our athletes and their participation in our programs. I will pass along, and we'll talk a little more about it today as well. Our staff really did an amazing job. We held limited in-person training and events when it was safe to do so. As a statewide organization, we dealt with different counties, different health departments, different municipalities, all with an assortment of rules. And so wherever and whenever possible, we did get people together in person. We also had a lot of robust offerings for our athletes online. I know as chairman, I sat in every now and then. I'd get on one of these Zoom calls with a bunch of our athletes who are in the same space just so they could be together, talk about leadership. Some of our programs were moved online, athletic participations and things like that. But as we all know from our own experience, it's not the same as being together in shared physical space. So many of our athletes already live in social isolation. And so for them, this past year was particularly devastating. But many of our athletes have experienced trials of discrimination as well, and bullying in their lives and in their schools. So it's why our Unified Champion Schools program, we partner Special Olympics with entire school districts or at times individual schools to introduce anti-bullying programs and encourage unified participation, not just in sports, but in all aspects of student life. So when we're engaged with a school district, we make sure that people with intellectual disabilities are fully integrated into their societies. And I think that's so important too, because it's one way that Special Olympics touches not just our athletes, not just people with intellectual disabilities, but in that school setting, it helps students and communities be better, all of them, all across our state. So is Special Olympics a sports organization? We certainly are, but I hope that you come away today understanding that we are so much more than that. And to continue our conversation this afternoon, I'd like to introduce to you our president and CEO of Special Olympics Wisconsin, Ms. Kathleen Roach.
Thanks, Vince. And good afternoon, everyone. And thank you again for being with us today. For the past 5 years, I've had the incredible privilege of being part of an organization where each and every day my life is enhanced by the athletes and the gifts that they share with us. And Vince shared a lot of information about Special Olympics. I'd like to give you a little bit more specifics about Special Olympics Wisconsin. First, we serve roughly 9,000 athletes throughout the state of Wisconsin. And in the greater Milwaukee area, it's roughly 3,500. We start as early as the age of 2 with our young athlete program, which in a little bit you'll see a video on. And as Vince mentioned, there's no limit to the age. You can be part of Special Olympics for as long as you want. We have 19 sports in our state and over 100 events during the year that take place at a local level, at a regional level, and then ultimately state competitions. We have a small but mighty staff. And I must say, I have never met so many committed and passionate human beings, and I feel very fortunate to be part of such a great team. We also rely on over 8,000 volunteers a year. Because we have so many events and we have a smaller staff, we really, really rely on our volunteers to make everything we do successful and fun. We're in 4 different locations. We're in Madison, we're in Stevens Point, we're in Appleton, and in Milwaukee. We are also our own separate 501c3. So while we're accredited through our Special Olympics Inc. In Washington, D.C., we are responsible for our own budget and all the work that we do. We're a financially stable organization with a budget annually of just over $5 million. Of that, about 2% comes from the state of Wisconsin, and about 8% comes from grants through SOI, or Special Olympics International. Like many organizations and businesses, 2020 and this year has been difficult financially. And we were able to do a really good job of cutting our expenses because we had fewer sports and special events. But at the same time, there was less revenue because our corporate partners, private foundations, grants, donors were unable to give as they've given in the past. We were also recipients in 2020 and in 2021 of the PPP dollars. As we continue to look at our budget going forward, we continue to look at diversifying our revenue streams. And we want to rely less heavily on our special events because of things like weather and pandemics. And we want to create more opportunities for donor giving, corporate and private partnerships, as well as foundation grants. As Vince mentioned, we're known as a sports organization, but we also provide so much more than that. We have a Unified Champion School program that gives us an opportunity to work with over 2,000 schools in the state of Wisconsin. You'll hear more on our Healthy Athlete program. And one of our most important programs is our Unified Leadership program, where our athletes are really the leaders. And it's as easy as thinking of, instead of inviting the athletes to the party, let's have the athletes plan the party. And we have so much more to learn from them. And by having them lead and help lead our organization, we can only be more successful. In 2022, we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary. During the past 5 years, we have seen and heard about the adversity, the isolation, the bullying, and the inequities experienced by people with disabilities. However, with Special Olympics, we have also seen athletes experience joy, friendships, confidence, leadership, and a real sense of accomplishment. At the beginning of gathering today, you saw a video, and I think one of the greatest things I heard was from Cindy Bentley that said, Special Olympics is contagious. Just come to one of our events and you'll be hooked for life. So before we show a short video on the Young Athlete Program, I'd like to share just 2 short experiences for me where I actually saw the joy and saw the friendships, saw the confidence, and the sense of accomplishment. One of my first events when I started with Special Olympics was our state summer games that traditionally takes place in Stevens Point. We have thousands of athletes and fans, and one of our events is track and field. And I was standing watching the 50-meter dash, and when the gun went off, one of the athletes ran the entire race with her arms up in the air as if she had won the race from start to finish. And I thought to myself, I need to run the race of life like that with my arms up in the air. And then the second short story is we have another large event called Outdoor State Games that takes place at Carroll University. It's typically the first weekend in August. And one of the sports that takes place there is tennis, which is my sport. Something I'm very passionate about that gives me a lot of joy. And so I was watching a match between a young woman and a young man, and with Special Olympics, you compete by ability. You don't compete by age and you don't compete by gender. You compete by your ability. And so they had played the first game, and as they were switching sides, they gave each other a high five. Now, let me tell you, in the French Open that just took place, I didn't see anyone give each other a high five as they switched sides. And so I thought to myself, who does that sort of thing? And then I thought, boy, I have a lot to learn.
The Young Athletes Program is part of the Special Olympics. It's for kids from age 2 to 10.
And why it's so unique is because it brings together kids with intellectual disabilities and without intellectual disabilities, and they play and learn sports together. It teaches the young athletes to learn fundamentals, to learn how to catch, to learn how to throw balls, to learn how to hit, to do all sport-related type of events through unifying them together.
You know, a lot of kids with special needs don't get a lot of opportunities to go on field trips that are accessible to them. You know, I have several kids that are in wheelchairs and they can participate fully.
They're learning the exact skill together, side by side with each other, helping each other succeed. And that's what it's all about, is helping each other succeed and not excluding anybody.
And it's an awesome experience to have kids that are in the general ed curriculum to kind of buddy up with a kid with special needs. You know, their interactions together are awesome.
My favorite part, honestly, is first off seeing the athletes and their smiles and how excited they are to just be here and be able to be part of the Young Athletes Program. I also really enjoy what it does to our volunteers that come out and help, and the joys that it brings to their lives of being able to help kids show each other how to stand side by side with each other and include each other in doing things together as opposed to separate.
This is my 4th year coming, and it's so much fun. It's so well organized, and it's just a really awesome experience. I wish everyone would come and just experience it for themselves. It's awesome.
The program is really good because it helps lead the way to what Special Olympics is and how you can get involved. But I also feel like it's a great stepping stone to what we're coming to of unified, and that we're going to be living a world of being included and all together.
I am now pleased to introduce you to one of our incredible athletes, Marquise Garner. He is a fellow Milwaukeean. He's competed in Special Olympics for over a decade in basketball, bowling, football, soccer, bocce, and track and field. Marquise is also a college graduate, actor, and writer. He likes to write creative stories in his spare time, and that creativity led him to achieve a dream of becoming a published author in 2017. His book, Have You Ever Wished You Were Someone Else? Carrying the Weight of Autism, takes the reader through Marquise's trials and triumphs of living with autism, from battling depression after being bullied by his peers as a child to earning a bachelor's degree from Midwest Bible College, even when his teacher said it wasn't possible. In the last few years, Marquise has become an athlete leader in Special Olympics. He has become a powerful advocate for individuals with intellectual disabilities, using his voice to promote inclusion through speeches and media appearances. And in 2019, Marquise became a member of our board of directors. Please join me in welcoming Marquise Garner.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Hello, I'm Marquise Garner. I live in Milwaukee, and I'm an author, college graduate, actor, and Special Olympics Wisconsin athlete. I feel like I have empathy because of the life I have lived. I am a person of color who also has a disability. The color of my skin is something I can't hide. It is the first thing many people see about me. On the other hand, my disability, my autism, is something that is invisible to most people until they get to know me. I would like to be able to tell you in words that will help you to understand what it's like to have a disability. In high school, I would try playing sports, and as soon as kids learned I was in special education, they treated me differently. This ranged from leaving me open and alone in the end zone, yet never throwing me the football, to me getting bullied if I played on a higher string in basketball, to treating me like an outcast. Having a disability meant judging me on what I can't do. Special Olympics is different. They look at me for what I can do because they include people of all ability levels. No matter what skill level we're at, there is a spot for me. There's acceptance. I'm participating at a sport with people who are physically and intellectually equal. It is very healthy to be in an environment where you are accepted. My teammates are like my brothers and sisters. Being able to make good relationships is the best thing about Special Olympics. In Special Olympics, I get to try things, and it is okay if I don't do well. What this does, it gives me confidence to try new things in all parts of my life and find my talents and things I didn't know that I had. For example, if I didn't participate in Special Olympics, I wouldn't have been asked to speak at the open ceremonies in front of 5,000 people. I would never thought I could do that. And Special Olympics helps me both physically and mentally. It makes me feel part of society, which helps my mental health. It provides an opportunity for me to participate in sports and develop my physical fitness, which helps my physical health. I mentioned at the beginning that I'm an author, college graduate, and published author. Beyond that training, I am also a trained athlete leader for Special Olympics Wisconsin. I have taken Special Olympic classes in public speaking, athlete health leadership, and governance. I use my leadership skills in my role as a board member for Special Olympics Wisconsin and to share my story with people like all of you. I feel good about being able to give back to a program that has given me so much. Special Olympics gives us all a chance to be part of our community and be whole as human beings. As part of the community, I vote and keep up on current affairs. I pay attention to what is going on in the community, especially the Black community. As a Black male, how can I be an example of being positive? As a Black male living with autism, how can I be an example for people with autism too? Special Olympics message of inclusion is a powerful one. For Special Olympics, success is not limited to the playing field or even our proven health and leadership initiatives. We are succeeding through the skills and voices of people with intellectual disabilities. We are successfully influencing others outside of Special Olympics so our communities can be stronger with the learned power of empathy and acceptance. Thank you. And now I'd like to draw your attention to our video presentation of our Healthy Athletes program.
Individuals with intellectual disabilities have unique issues around healthcare and the ability to communicate their needs. Free Healthy Athlete screenings help identify untreated issues and refer athletes to the care they need. Athletes can visit one or all of the disciplines offered during the state games, including Fit Feet, Fun Fitness, Health Promotion, Healthy Hearing, Lions Club Opening Eyes, MedFest, and special smiles.
Free screenings by the Special Olympics for our athletes is so important because we do know now that if you don't have a healthy oral environment, there is a link to diabetes, heart conditions, even strokes could develop from having poor oral hygiene.
The fit feed screenings are critical because they may not know that there's anything wrong. So we're doing a generalized screening from superficial to as well as deep deformities. And it's critical because it could prevent them from needing surgery in the future, or it could also help prevent an injury that hasn't happened from occurring in the future.
Every time we do this, we see many athletes who've never had an eye exam before, or athletes where it's very difficult to prescribe glasses that it's easy for them to wear. Maybe because they have a very high prescription or because they have a lot of trouble using their eyes together. So we have expertise where we can figure out what might work for them.
On average, Special Olympics Wisconsin conducts more than 2,000 free health screenings annually. Without hundreds of professional volunteers, these screenings could not take place.
Special Smiles volunteers benefit from this program because they leave here so rewarded and so fulfilled that they not only are helping individuals with disabilities, but also helping out in the communities.
The thing that really, I think, hooks people is, one is to say, you know, you're using your skills to give back to the community, and it's a chance to really help athletes who might not have the chance to participate. And so that's what people are excited about when we talk about this program.
Special Olympics isn't just about sports, as athletes can walk away from state competitions with a new pair of glasses, information on nutrition and fitness, or even a fluoride varnish on their teeth. In addition, they receive healthy snacks, toothbrushes and floss, mouth guards, water bottles, and sunscreen.
Maintaining a healthy lifestyle is really important for the athletes, just as it is important for all the rest of us. And I have found that the athletes are really interested in knowing how they can do better for themselves.
Even more important is the referral system, as the professional volunteers take time to discuss results with the athletes, including consideration of more serious conditions they may come across. They also follow up with care they may need in their hometown, while promoting a healthcare routine for the athlete.
One of the most rewarding things is when an athlete comes back the next year to be screened and a parent or coach follows up with us and lets us know that they did get their physical therapy intervention and they are being stronger and more safe and functioning better in their daily life and with their sports.
The reason I like to come back is because the atmosphere that the athletes bring. They're so happy to be here. They're so fun to work with. They enjoy the event so much that it just makes me feel good about spending my day here with them.
They are listening. They do know what we're saying, and they're learning, and that's very fulfilling for me.
Not only is Special Olympics Wisconsin changing lives, but the Healthy Athletes program is expanding the capabilities our athletes are already working so hard to prove. Join us in our effort.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Chambro and I run our health programs at Special Olympics. I hope you all enjoyed that video. It mentions there are 7 healthy athlete disciplines at Special Olympics Wisconsin, but I'm so happy to tell you that we now have 8. And I'm going to tell you today about our newest healthy athlete discipline, and it's called Strong Minds. Strong Minds helps Special Olympics athletes strengthen their coping skills. Competition provides a natural opportunity to develop active strategies for maintaining emotional wellness under stress, such as thinking positive thoughts, releasing stress, and connecting with others. Next on. At a Strong Minds event, athletes try 5 different stress reduction strategies. They identify the strategies they like best, and volunteers provide them with visual reminders to use these tools in competition and everyday life. These 5 Strong Mind activities are Stress and You, Strong Messages, Strong Breathing, Strong Stretching, and Strong Supporting. Given the focus on managing stress and strengthening emotional wellness, Strong Minds couldn't have come at a better time. I saw firsthand how impactful Strong Minds can be at a track meet we had last month. Having Strong Minds there to help athletes learn adaptive coping skills after this past year was huge. At the Strong Minds event, I was chatting with one of the moms. She shared how challenging this past year has been for her son to lose the structure and socialization that Special Olympics provides. As the mom watched her son go through the coping skills, she commented that she wished her son had learned more about this prior to the pandemic, but that she's very excited to use these moving forward with him. Another quick story I'd like to share from Strong Minds was at our first event back in 2019. An athlete disqualified on the track at our state summer games at UW-Stevens Point. He was very upset when this happened, and the coach wasn't quite sure how to best help him de-escalate and be back to his happy self. So he brought him over to our Strong Minds venue. By the time the athlete finished the third strong breathing station, he was back to himself, very calm. And it was so fun to see when he was actually leaving the venue. He started giving the high fives to to other athletes, but really one of the volunteers. It was great to see. So I love sharing stories about how our health programs impact people and our athletes and our volunteers at Special Olympics. But next, I really want to talk about some of the data. This slide shows mostly healthy athlete data at the top of the screen, and that's just data from Wisconsin. I want to highlight the Strong Minds data at the bottom of the screen, and that is from all of North America because it's such a new healthy athlete discipline. I pulled numbers from the US. What the data shows is that 12% of athletes report they have no coping strategy at all, and 62% of athletes use avoidance strategies, which are known to be associated with increased depression. Next, please. Here are a few fitness photos I wanted to share to address that 68%, the data on the slide before, of athletes being overweight or obese. Special Olympics Wisconsin began offering year-round fitness training. Next. Next, I want to introduce Cindy Bentley. She is here to share her personal story of how Special Olympics Wisconsin's health programming has impacted her.
Well, it's great to be joined right now by one of our Special Olympics Wisconsin superstars. Cindy Bentley is a global ambassador for Special Olympics. She is also right now currently serving as executive director of People First Wisconsin. And Cindy is coming to us from her very own apartment in Glendale, Wisconsin. Cindy, I wish we were together in person, but it's great to see you on Zoom anyway. Good to be back with you. You look good.
Thank you. Thank you.
You and I have taken this show on the road and shared your story with so many people over the years. And one thing that I always love is you found Special Olympics many, many years ago. And you've told me on several occasions that you think Special Olympics saved your life. I wonder if you could tell me that story, how you got started.
Yes, I was born in 1957 at the county hospital. And I was in the foster care system where I got third-degree burns. I was sent to a state institution in Union Grove, Wisconsin, where I was very angry and didn't have a voice or anything. And there was a coach there. She got me involved with Special Olympics, and we would run. And every day I would run and complain about running. Every single day until one day I started liking running and I started liking myself. Because when you don't have a voice and you don't have anybody believing in you, so sorry, I get a little emotional, you know that, Ben. So
I know.
When you don't have anybody listening to you, and you know, and at the center I got other people involved with Special Olympics. And I'm so glad I got involved with Special Olympics because I changed my life for the better. I just don't know. I probably would have landed up in the system, the jail system, because I was so angry. But then Special Olympics also helped me to find my voice. I did Athlete for Leadership program, and I also did Global Messenger. I was a Global Messenger for 2000, 2001, where I had to do a speech in to a bunch of doctors in Maryland, and I told my story. It was the very first time I ever told my story. And Mrs. Schreiber was in the front, and I was just told, you know, how you should talk and present yourself. And my story is very powerful because it's a real story. It's not just some made up story. Um, and I got a standing ovation, and that's how I found my voice.
Well, there's no, Cindy, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what I wanted to say is you're definitely a leader among your fellow athletes, certainly within your agency and here in Wisconsin, everybody knows you. And so I wonder if you could speak a little bit, not just about your experience, but also we've been talking about healthy athletes today.
Yeah.
And how you and your fellow athletes are healthier because of your participation in Special Olympics.
I think the Healthy Athlete program is the greatest program in the world. Athletes need health care. The healthcare system for people with disabilities is not very good. And for myself, I had to go through Opening Smiles. Well, I went through Opening Smiles, and they found some issues in my mouth, and it's condition. I went to Mercy, forgot what it was called.
Let me ask you more specifically about that, because
Okay.
within our Healthy Athletes program, for folks watching today, we have something called a Delta Dental Special Smile. And this was a thing where, you know, I've been there at our state summer games where we have people come in and get dental screenings and that, but people close to you in Special Olympics had noticed that you weren't smiling anymore.
Yeah, and Missy called me on the phone, and seriously, and said, "How come you're not smiling?" And I was in pain, and I was embarrassed because there was some stuff going on in my mouth. So she got me hooked up first, and then I got hooked up with we had to get an oral surgeon. She did lots of surgeries on my jaw.
And you are smiling again. I noticed that
and
as
I'm
well.
smiling.
You
and
have
I'm
a beautiful
very happy. Yeah, and you know, and I was scared to even open my mouth because it was embarrassing. And a lot of my other fellow athletes, they have pain. You know, some had to get braces, and I know some had to get some braces, and some had to have some different kind of jaw surgery. But I think what happens is in the Medicare system, they don't think that we need to have dental care. We do. It affects a lot of things. Not only that it affects your heart, a lot of people don't know it can cause a lot of problems.
And you think it's Special Olympics that connected you and your fellow athletes with the dental care that they need.
Yeah, I'm so thankful.
Well, I'm glad you're smiling again and that we could get that care that you needed. Cindy, one more thing here. Let's just talk about, I think a lot of people know that at Special Olympics Wisconsin, we do sports, but they don't know how much Special Olympics is a part of your life and the lives of your fellow athletes. I mean, I've told people it's kind of your everything. I mean, yeah, you go there to play sports, but you know, it's your social network, it's your friendship group, it's your connection to healthcare that we've talked about, to helping you gain the confidence to be in the workforce. It's all of those things, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I'm scheduled to the max usually. I've got something, either I'm playing soccer or I'm you know, I'm getting ready for Bati. I miss all my friends. I'm just thankful to be an athlete, but it's a little hard right now because I've been out of sports for a year and a half.
Well, we are anxious to get you and all your fellow athletes out there together again. I know there's been some things that we've been able to do, but we'll get you guys all back
will
together.
be back eventually. And I can't wait to give my coaches a hug. And
I know they can't wait for that either, Cindy. It's wonderful to see you, and we're going to wrap up this portion of our program. But
Thank
Glad
you.
to do this with you. Next time we'll do it in person, okay?
Yes, yes, Vince. Thank you.
So what we'd like to do, everyone, is thank you, Cindy. Cindy is with us live right now, as well as is Marquise has remained on the call. We heard from Marquise earlier. Kathleen Roach, our president and CEO, all here on the call with you. So, and the others from whom you heard today. So if any of you have any questions that you'd like to direct to either of our athletes or Kathleen or myself or anybody else on the call, we'll go ahead and do that right now.
When did this group get to be so quiet? George, how about you? You're mute. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. I think this is a very good presentation. I think a challenge for any organization that has an international or national scope is how do you keep it local? I got a little sense of that today. And I think for a lot of philanthropy, local is really, really important. So could you speak to that issue? And in particular, are there dues or allocations that the Wisconsin SO needs to pay to a national or international SO?
George, that's a great question, and the answer is yes. In order to be affiliated with Special Olympics and use the Special Olympics name, we have to pay an annual accreditation fee. So that allows us to be part of a worldwide organization. But to your earlier point, every dollar that we raise stays in Wisconsin. Outside of the accreditation fee that we pay, which is a formula based on our program expenses, our dollars go out to the athletes we serve.
Andy, how about you? Any questions?
Sure. Marquise and Cindy, thank you so much for sharing your stories with all of us. I guess a question for you would be, with Special Olympics Wisconsin, what do you see as the next big thing with the healthy athletes focusing now on the 8 areas? What would be your dream for Special Olympics Wisconsin? What's the next big thing?
Fashion the athlete. Oh, you can go first, Marquise.
Oh, you can go first, Cindy.
I think my thing would be is to make sure every athlete in Wisconsin is served and get good health care, because we still have the dilemma through the Medicare system not getting what athletes need and what people need. So if they go to join Special Olympics, they definitely will have their health care met. So thank you for asking.
Right. Wow. Thank you. She said a lot. I kind of feel the same way, where health care will be available for all Special Olympic athletes, because like Cindy said in her video, a lot of us are not able to get that oral care or just regular care, just basic needs met, and like that affect us overall as a full human being. Like it affects us mentally and physically. So I would like to see that taken care of done better for us.
And I also would say one other thing, non-athletes probably could go through Special Olympics so they can also get health care, because we have some poor parts of Wisconsin that really need to be able to get good health care. And so even if they're not an athlete, I'm sure Special Olympics would still take care of them. So thank you.
Thank you both. Shelley, any
Les,
questions?
if I may, can I jump in just
Sure,
real quick and add
please.
one or two things, Andy, because it's such an important question that you asked. I just had 2 additional thoughts to those of Cindy and Marquise. what we got a little taste of is our unified sports, and you heard a few of our athletes and our volunteers talk about that. So the first 50 years of Special Olympics was really about providing access at all to sports and opportunities for our athletes to participate. But it's long been sort of a separate but equal kind of arrangement. And what I think the next 50 years for this organization is how are we playing together? So unified is the term we use, but like, for example, we'll have soccer. It's 6-on-6, 3 traditional Special Olympics athletes, 3 other people who are participating alongside of them, and they're one team. Our golf programs are one guy like me, one of our Special Olympics athletes, and it's alternate shot. So we're playing and participating together. So I think that's a huge part of our movement in the next 50 years. And then the other thing, in terms of what's next for us here in Wisconsin, we know for every one of our athletes that are participating in our programs with intellectual disabilities, there are anywhere from 8 to 10 other people with intellectual disabilities in this state who are not a part of Special Olympics. Way more people out there who are still on the sidelines. And so we want to reach as many of them as possible, whether it's in that young athletes program, our 2 to 8-year-olds, or whether it's finding somebody who's already an adult and getting him or her into our program so we can open all of these doors for them. So those are 2 huge things for us.
Thank you. Shelley, any questions?
I have a couple statements and then I have a little bit of a question. I'm totally impressed with, I guess, the breadth of activities that you're involved in, because I do think, to Vince's point, everyone hears about Special Olympics and you think about the sporting side of it, but I didn't realize how wide the wraparound services are. So I want to thank you for sharing that and for the work that you guys are doing on that. I definitely have a question for Marquis and Cindy. I want to know more about them mentoring other students or other kids that are coming through the program. But then I kind of have a second question for the organization about partnerships of other groups you're working with, out of curiosity, like Ability Center or anyone local, who your biggest local partnerships are with. So it's a couple questions.
Oh, hi. I haven't really had the opportunity, maybe not so much mentor, but I do appreciate the Special Olympics giving me the opportunity to share my story. And when Jeannie and Tommy, I definitely share it with other individuals that have disabilities, because I've been coming across it's a young man that does autism. I mean, he has autism and he bought a car from my dad. So he has autism and he has Tourette syndrome. And because my dad introduced this young man to me, he's part of Team Milwaukee Special Olympics now. And now, so I'm definitely, when I meet someone that has a disability like me, I tell them about Special Olympics. And just being a Black male, I definitely am appreciative to share my story, because, like Cindy said, we have some people and that's part of Team Milwaukee, and maybe Cindy can elaborate on it, because we have people on Team Milwaukee that just have some very sad stories. A young man I kind of considered a friend, he was part of Team Milwaukee, and he didn't know all the resources that was available to him, and he ended up becoming a homicide victim. So it's just like when I hear Cindy chat, I just try to soak everything in. Sometimes I try to be quiet and I try to learn from Cindy, just because like the information that I hear her chat about, if she's not able to get to the athletes that have a disability like me, I try to remember everything that Cindy says in the video, or if she chats with me in person, so I could take that information back, because there's so many people that's like me and Cindy in the same situation, but they don't know about the resources that are available for them. So I just want to say that people, when we do these videos, I definitely would like for it to be recorded so I could take it back to my fellow athletes, because some of them be like, oh, Marquis, like they'd be like, I don't have anywhere to sleep. And one time I had one of the athletes, I had to give him the number to the rescue mission, and that made me think about Cindy. And I'd be like, man, like, how can I help my fellow athletes when they don't know about the available resources, help them? So
And for me, I learned from Marquise. My second thing to your question is, I breathe and live Special Olympics. I talk it up. My second thing is this year is to get involved with the young athlete program. I love children. I think I can be a good mentor to them. I mentor people as I go. I look around my community and see what I can do to help people. But Special Olympics, as McKee said, we have a lot of athletes that are suffering. I've been totally blessed, even coming from a state institution. I've been totally blessed and have good people that love me. Some of our athletes don't have nobody, as he said, they're homeless. Their parents are homeless. I want to mentor. As long as I'm alive, I'm going to breathe and help Special Olympics the best I can. It's my heart. It's my thing. They gave me so much. Now I need to give back to Special Olympics, and it's from my heart. McKee said he learned from me, but I learned from him, my peers, and my coaches. And I think people view us as we don't know what's going on in our community. I know exactly what's going on in our community. It's a lot of violence right now. There's a lot of different things going on, and all our athletes are around it. It's just not in Milwaukee, but it's all around the state of Wisconsin. And we want our athletes to be safe. So we don't only take care of the health, and we take care of the whole body. So we need to make sure when they lay their heads down at night, they don't hear gunshots in there, they can really sleep. So I just want to say to you on this, of the people that are on the foundation, that I learned from the best. Jeannie Horvath learned how to tell my story. I would say I'm with my peers. I'm not above just because I met presidents or whatever, been to the White House. That has nothing to do with how I view myself. I'm not above. I'm right with my peers and try to teach people to learn about me and what I'm about. So thank you for listening.
I just wanted to piggyback quick on what Cindy said there about the young athletes, because I, as a unified or the VP of Unified Leadership, I get to work with our athlete leaders, and we have about 200 that we've trained in the last 3 years in public speaking, governance, how to serve on committees, health, officials. And one of the areas that they're very interested in, I really haven't met an athlete that wasn't interested in helping with the Young Athletes Program. And they not only want to help the athletes, but they want to talk to the parents. And one of our athletes on the Athlete Leadership Committee wrote a letter to the parents of their 2 to 7-year-olds. So when they transition, they turn 8 and they transition into our traditional program, and told them about the future. It was like a letter to his previous self. And at the very end, there was a PS, and the dad said, "Hang in there, parents, because there's hope." And one thing that we do is we really help the athletes, but can you imagine being the parent of a 2-year-old with a disability and having no idea what the future holds, and then meeting Cindy Bentley or Marquise Garner and seeing what the future could hold for you? We are so filled with hope. Our athletes are so filled with hope for our future generations.
Right. Oh.
And Shelley, real quick to answer your second question, we work with a number of different partners. One of our largest partners is actually law enforcement. We use the acronym LETR, which is Law Enforcement Torch Run. So they help us create awareness and help with many of our fundraising events. We work with numerous park and recreations, YMCAs, the Healthy Athlete Program that you heard about. We work with Delta Dental, the Lions Club. Those are just a few to name, but we're all about collaboration and actually, because of Les, Missy has hooked up with one of the mobile hearing units that may be able to partner with us down the road. So great questions.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say thank you, everybody. On the inside, I just feel touched that I get to do this. and for all the programs that we have. It's just in my private moments, I might shed a little tears just because I'm just grateful. Like I said again, that Special Olympics asked me to do this because I'm blessed to be here. Like Cindy said, with all the violence going on, about 7 months ago, or almost, I was just sitting at a stoplight with my family, and we were almost shot to death by a road rage driver. So just the fact that I can do this, yeah, I thank you for it, and I just I appreciate every opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Marquise.
And so do I. I appreciate you all the foundation here. And I also appreciate, I think, I forgot your name, sir.
Les. That's
What's your
my
name?
mother did too. Les.
Les,
Yes.
I appreciate you and thank you guys, the people that asked the athletes a question on this phone today. I'm blessed to be here, like, in anything I can do to help Special Olympics or to educate foundations like your foundation, I'm glad to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Adam, question.
Yeah, Cindy, Marquise, thank you much for sharing your stories. Kathleen, just curious, looking at the $5 million budget you referenced from the revenue line and expenses, if you could just walk through kind of the big buckets, where, what that looks like.
Sure. So in our revenue lines, we have corporate partnerships, we have individual giving, we have our fundraising line, we have our grant line, and then a little bit called other, which is kind of odds and ends. Of those, right now, our biggest revenue stream is in fundraising, and we're trying to diversify that out. We'd like to see our individual donor line continue to grow, as well as our grants and corporate partnerships. In our expenses, probably not surprisingly, our largest expense is salaries. And then really it's about our programs that we provide the services to our athletes. So we run some very large events throughout the year, which there's an expense too. So I'm hoping that helps you, Adam, a little bit.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Tom, last but certainly not least, any questions?
Yes, no. Some of my basic questions were already answered, and I just want to echo what has been said many times, that, very powerful. I thought I knew what Special Olympics was all about, but I didn't really, and it's much broader than I thought, and it's very powerful. Great stories. Thank you.
Let me start with you, Tom, if I may. I'd like to go around the room, and with Tom being first, what did you learn today specifically about Special Olympics Wisconsin that you did not know?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I learned anything fundamentally new. However, I just didn't make the connection. I think this was a good chance for us to focus on what they do and how powerful it can be to individuals. And I definitely walked away with that.
Thank you. Andy, how about you? What did you learn today that you did not know?
Most definitely. And Shelley, you spoke to this before. I had no idea the whole entire health component and that whole wraparound service. Such an important service for the athletes, and particularly Vince, when you said at the beginning that for many of the athletes, this is like the primary care. I just had no idea. So that was the biggest learning point for me. And something that, as I talk to donors and share more about Special Olympics, something I will definitely raise up.
Thank you. Shelley, you.
Yep, exactly the same thing, the wraparound services, and just really how broad they are and how important it is really for the athletes. So really impressed with how much depth there is beyond just the actual activity with the sport.
Thank you. Kenzie, what did you learn today that you did not know about Special Olympics?
I think almost everything
that you talked about today was new information to me, to be honest. I didn't know much about it. Everyone's heard of Special Olympics, but it's one of those organizations that I think people think is so big. One, I didn't realize like just how local it could get, and also everything you do. And now I'm just curious how we could best support or spread the word, because I feel like it's a big oversight for a group like, mine, like our business. I wouldn't have thought Special Olympics honestly was maybe such a fit into something we'd be interested in partnering with, just because I didn't know about, you just think of it as like sports and maybe a couple events per year. And I realize now that's, obviously just a big misunderstanding. So I would love to share with others, because I think people want to donate to something local and they want it to feel like it fits a mission that they are passionate about. And so I wish more people maybe would know, that it could be a mission fit given the breadth of all you do. So I almost have like more questions than I had.
We've got people that can answer them. Keep it in mind.
Yeah. I think
Go
I'm
ahead.
trying to think of where can we best even start as just either just an individual community member and or a corporation. What is there a way? What would be most helpful? Is it more of spreading the word? Is it
It's a combination of all of the above.
Yeah.
But we'll follow up with you to have
Right.
further discussion.
Yeah, so I'm happy to have been here and not missed out, because again, I was honestly surprised how much I learned and how much we could do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
George, how about you?
I think what really struck me was the sense of community. And as I listened to Cindy and Marquise stories and how they're so connected, and the experiences that you've had, the very positive experiences, that's something I didn't realize. The depth of the touch of folks who are get to be engaged in all that Special Olympics offers. So that was an eye-opener to me.
Thank you. Adam.
Yes, my mind is probably no different. I didn't realize the vastness of what you do. I think Special Olympics probably has a 99% name recognition across the country, but probably a 1% mission recognition. So I didn't realize all the, like Shelley and everyone said, the wraparound services that you do.
Thank you. Listen, we've got a few people, my error, that I did not get to introduce and had not had a speaking part before. So I'd like to have them introduce themselves and their affiliation with Special Olympics. And Don, why don't I start with you?
Yeah, hi, everybody. My name is Don Wigington. I'm the Vice President of Sports and Health Programs for Wisconsin. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. Lois, how about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Lois Harrison. I'm starting my third year as in my term as a board member. I'm the chair of the Sports and Health Committee, and I've been actively involved in Special Olympics for 18 years as the co-clinical director for one of those healthy athletes programs called Fun Fitness.
Thank you. Krista.
Hi everyone, I'm Krista Shields. I'm the Vice President of Development, been in this role for about 2.5 years. So great to spend some time with you all today.
Thank you. Rhonda.
Hi everybody, Rhonda Plotkin. Happy to be here. I'm the Major Gifts Officer for Special Olympics Wisconsin. So that includes reaching out to individuals and foundation partners. So happy to be here as well.
Why don't I turn it over to you and you can close us out?
I think to Kathleen. Kathleen introduced herself. Okay. All right, great. Thank you everybody for being here. I always learn something new too every day. So I want to thank Les for bringing us all together, and for Vince for being an extraordinary MC. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your day. We know you have a lot of other options of what you can do in your lunch hour. You have other meetings that you could be attending. So it really means a lot to us that you're here today. And I do also want to share, as others have, that I'm really proud to be part of such a wonderful organization. It's a great staff, a great board of directors. our mission aligns really well, totally with my heart and my soul. So it is a pleasure to work here. And as I've told some people, you know, I wake up every day excited about what I'm going to be doing for Special Olympics Wisconsin. As we've referenced, and as Kathleen talked about our budget a bit, more and more, not just because of the pandemic, but more and more, we count on private support to deliver the life-changing work that you heard about today, leveling the playing field through sports, delivering life-changing healthcare, unifying generations of all abilities, as you saw with our young athletes. And you heard from Marquise and Cindy, and creating leaders, again, as you experienced with two of our leaders, Marquise and Cindy. So I will follow up with each and every one of you in the next week or two. I will send you a thank you note. I'll also reach out with some more information. I'm very happy to answer any and all of your questions. And we're just so glad you were here and you could take part in our story of inclusion and access and opportunities. So have a great rest of your day and thank you again.